So you're a lawyer and you're worried about career development, career progression within your law practice. I've got a model behind me that explains quite well some ideas around what you could do to make it attractive for your staff to stay on board with you, and also how they can progress and develop within your practice. So this model behind me here is called the Lawyer Career Pathway. And we're simply going to look at this and say, when you graduate with your brand new shiny degree and it comes out of its box and you unwrap the wrapper and you shine it up, that's when you typically become a team member. Most lawyers, when they come out and graduate from university, would be going to join a law firm and study their articles and study what they need to do to learn how to become a lawyer. And after about 5, 6 or 7 years, they're going to be, or probably they're going to be very competent at being a lawyer. But where does it go to from there? So people join once they get their degree and they become team members. And if they do that well, and if they're interested, they would typically get promoted up to being a team leader. So that's where you might have a couple of junior lawyers beneath you, or a couple of paraprofessionals, or you could have a team of researchers or people working underneath you, and you're the lead lawyer. So as a team leader, you're managing a couple of staff. Now, if you're doing that really well, and if you're interested, you might be wanting to go up to a manager. Now, this is where the start of the problems go, because there's two parts to being a manager. With being a manager, there is managing the operations, which is you have 1, 2 or 3 legal staff, paralegal staff underneath you. Your job is to worry about, do they have the skill set to do it? Have we quoted the job well enough? Are we on time with the job? What's happening to our work in progress? Is our whip dragging out too much? Do we have too much out in our debtors? Are our lawyers putting enough on their timesheets? Are they actually recording their time within the system that we've got? That's the operational side of managing. But then we've also got the next part of your career progression could be that you become a business manager. And as a business manager, this is where you'd be looking for training and skills around how do you recruit the right type of people? How do you manage the right type of people? How do you counsel them? How do you do performance appraisals? And part of the business management is also, what leases do we have in place on our properties, on our offices? What sort of requirements do we have for our marketing? And are you across all of those issues? You've got these people on your teams. Are you able to feed the machine to actually get enough work coming in the door? So these are challenges that you learn around being a business manager. So it's not so much the operations, it's more around running the business. Then if you wish to, you can move up, if your practice is big enough, you can move up to becoming an executive. And for some lawyers and some business owners, they choose to move up to a board level. Now, typically when people are working at this level, team members are worried about what happens on an hourly basis. And team leaders are more worried about what's going to be happening on a weekly basis. Our manager is far more interested, not so much on the daily basis, he's more worried about the KPIs and are we meeting our targets, and that's typically going to be measured on a monthly basis. Now, the focus for the executive is going to be around the 0 to 12 months, and that's where they're going to be spending most of their thinking time is, what are we doing as a company, where are we going to, where are we growing to, do we have the resources, do we have the people available, are we developing our virtual bench enough? So that's an executive's job, is to think about the things that are happening in the next 0 to 12 months. Now, if you're on a board, you're probably normally worried about the 1 to 5 year consideration. And what happens as a lawyer and what happens as a business owner is you claw your way up to the top, and you're now at the top of the pile, and you're now the manager of this business, and something goes wrong. And it might just be in some of my clients' businesses where something goes wrong. It may never happen in your practice, but in my clients' businesses, the business owner who started as a team member and mastered their craft became a team leader and mastered that craft and was able to run a team of half a dozen people. Then they went up to a manager and started dealing with business and started dealing with running operations, and they might have run 2 or 3 different teams. They might have run a division of family law, they might have run a division of insolvency, they might have run another division of litigation. They could have been running different divisions for the business. Something goes wrong, and what happens is they tend to get sucked back down to doing more operational things. So they go from being a manager to now they have to go back into their trade, and worst case they actually have to start filling in timesheets themselves, and they get stuck going back into the team member role. And this happens, surprisingly, like that movie with Bill Murray in it, Groundhog Day. This surprisingly happens quite a lot to business owners, to lawyers, as they get progressing up around through here. But there's a cautionary note here that I'd just like to raise about salaries. When we're looking at a team member, and it depends when you're watching this video and also what state you're watching in this video, and if you're working for a mining company or if you're working for a petrochemical company, and salaries are different to private practice. So there's a big caveat on this one here. But typically a team member might be anywhere on $70,000 per year. A team leader might be on anything of $120,000 a year. And a manager of the business, presuming they're looking after both business and operations, they might be on $180,000 a year. Now, if you're an executive in a large legal practice, you could be anywhere up to $300,000. And if you're up onto a board level, you could be on $500,000 or more per year. What I would challenge you with is, if this model is something like this, if you started out being a team member and then you were promoted up to being a team leader, looking after some team members, then you moved into the role of manager, where are you spending most of your time? So is it putting out fires? Is it allocating jobs? Where are you spending most of your 40 or 50 hours a week that you're at work? Is it doing the right level of job? And if it's not, what are you going to do to help yourself move into the role where you're providing the best value for your firm? This is a tool that I've used for many years in my coaching practice, and I hope that it adds value to your business. If you have any concerns, please send me an email. Happy to help if I can. But it's a great tool, great for sitting down and just thinking, am I working at my optimum capacity? I wish you all the best with the tool.